Bill Maher. I have been dying to talk to you guys about this since I saw it. I saw it in real time, which is quite fitting, on his show on Friday night. So I am a regular viewer of Bill Maher's show on HBO, Real Time with Bill Maher. It usually airs most every Friday night live from LA. So it airs at 10 p.m. in New York and 7 p.m. in LA. I watch. I am a fan, but I am a qualified fan because I have some real issues with Bill. And namely, it goes to the way he treats women. Now, he's gotten a little bit better at hiding his contempt on the air, especially when he's got like a woman one on one, and it always depends who that woman is and her status, and is she a dem, is she, whatever. And I say this even though he is one of the lone voices on the left, and I honestly I don't even know if he identifies as a leftist or a progressive anymore. But he's always interesting, he's always challenging, and he's one of those very few voices, along with the late Christopher Hitchens, along with Ayaan Hirsi Ali, Salman Rushdie, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, to take real issue with what Islamic fundamentalists do to their women. And that's namely mutilate their genitalia, marry them off as small girls to adult men, cover them from head to toe in burqas, denying them their education, their sexual agency. If you're raped, you're probably going to get murdered by a member of your own family, a male family member, in what are called honor killings. And, the right to speak rather, or sing outside of the four walls of their own homes. And those voices, a passerby can't hear them either. Okay. So now let's talk about what went down on Friday night on his show, where more often than not, he will have two male panelists. Before COVID, there used to be three. Now it's down to two. And more often than not, it's two guys he's talking to. And then when he does have a woman on, he will often roll his eyes in utter contempt at whatever point she might be trying to make. These are guests in your house. I would consider that a guest in my house. I wouldn't invite people on to roll my eyes at them or like smack the table, and smirk and talk down to them. Okay, like there was a 2022 episode on a show a few years ago. He had a guest named Catherine Rampell. She was a WAPO op-ed columnist, and she was talking about restricted abortion, and Bill blew it off, saying, "It doesn't affect my life. I ain't getting anybody pregnant." No, he's not. Bill instead infamously dated a woman who goes by or went by the name Superhead. She was a lot younger, and her real name was Corrine Steffens. And when they broke up after 2 or 3 years of dating, I think it was on and off dating, she said this to Vibe magazine, and I quote, "Bill wants someone he can put down in an argument." Her quotes, her words, not mine, "Tell you how ghetto you are, how big your butt is, and that you're an idiot. That's why you never see him," she says, "with a white girl or an intellectual. I might as well have been a Muslim woman with my head wrapped, walking 10 paces behind my man." Interesting. Most recently, he's been photographed with Al Pacino's sugar baby, Noor Al-Fala, if I'm saying that correctly. Bill is 68, Noor is 30. And Bill, he was something infamously of an incel as a teenager and young man. He talks about this all the time on his show. I don't think he uses that word, but he talks about all the time, it's still with him, how girls and women wanted nothing to do with him in high school or college. He hasn't gotten over that. He was also a habitue at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion, and there are no shortage of former playmates or girlfriends of Hefner's who have come forward, these many years, to say what a house of horrors that was, and not just the stuff they were forced to do sexually. Bill would say I'm using the word forced, probably like inappropriately, but what do you want to call it? Coercion? We'll go with that, okay? And I'm not just talking. I'm talking like hygienically, because there were strangers in that house, all having group sex and all variety of just whatever, So Bill gets on TV last Friday, and he decides that his closing monologue, he's going to, I guess he calls it his editorial, he's going to use the Diddy trial as, I guess, his Trojan horse to talk about women who are abused by their partners, women who are stuck in relationships with men that are violent. And he's here to tell us it's all our fault. It's all the fault of these women. If you are getting beaten up by your man, your husband, it's your fault. If you don't leave after the first one, your fault. Okay. We're going to take this guy apart. Okay. we are going to metaphorically savage him limb from limb, and we are going to leave his verbal carcass to be feasted upon by wild boars. Roll this clip, beginning.
Things have changed enough so that moving forward, the rule should be, if you're being abused, you got to leave right away.
Okay, I'm just going to say this. If it were that simple, if the women who typically get into abusive relationships have a lot of backstory and a lot of complicated emotional, psychological, maybe physical trauma, and abusers can spot these women like that. So if it were that simple and there were just an algorithm, a simple equation that women could follow, there would be no more women for men to beat the shit out of. Okay, Bill? Moving on.
Now, I completely understand why in the past women often did not do that. I understand, as counterintuitive as it seems, why an abused woman would send complimentary texts or emails to her abuser after the abuse. In an era where women felt for good reason that OG predators like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein would never be held accountable, why not at least get something out of it?
Okay, several issues, Bill. Number one, Bill Cosby's out of prison, okay? Harvey is appealing his guilty verdict in New York, okay? Why not get something out of it? During the initial Harvey trial here in New York, which I paid extremely diligent, close attention to, the prosecution was sure to call an expert in rape survivors because a lot of these women had maintained very friendly relationships with Harvey. Some of them continued to have sex with him. And as she explained, as this expert witness explained, it is often a way that a survivor, especially a survivor who had a prior relationship with her rapist, tries to gain control and make sense out of what happened to her, because it's so traumatic that someone that you knew and trusted violated you in this way. So I think Bill is confusing like an old school casting couch. And again, if you want to tell me that Bill Maher hadn't heard a goddamn peep about Harvey Weinstein and what he was up to on the East Coast, the West Coast, internationally, I knew. Okay, I knew. If I knew, he knew. Okay, let's move on.
In that scenario, it was not illogical for an abused woman to say, well, if I can't get justice for my pain, can I at least get a receipt, a coupon?
This is disgusting. This is disgusting. He's equating surviving a brutal beating. Like, look at what we just saw Cassie go through on that videotape. Sean Combs was trying to deny it until that video got published by CNN, and then he was up Schitt's Creek. Okay. But, it's definitely worth taking a beating and going limp on the floor to try to protect your lower organs, or having a man who hates women so much try to disfigure you by like marring your beauty by punching you in the face. I'd take a coupon for that. Sure. Okay. Let's hear more about how Bill has come to inform himself on this most consequential topic of domestic violence against women.
And I'm aware that it can be difficult to leave an abusive relationship. Most of what I watch on TV is the Lifetime channel.
That's just a straight up misogynistic joke. That is just a straight up misogynistic joke because Lifetime's programming is geared towards women. And he says so blithely and confidently, I understand it can be difficult to leave. Do you, Bill? Because I don't think you know many lower income women who are yoked to their men by financial desperation, or whose only option would be to leave their minor children, their very small children, with an abuser. And they don't have the resources or the outlets that you do, or like the rich, famous women you would think would have, which we are going to get to. Okay, we're going to get to, because Bill is going to rue the fucking day he did this fucking monologue. Okay, next up, let's go.
But this should be society's new grand bargain. We take every accusation seriously, but don't tell me any more about your contemporaneous account that you said to two friends 10 years ago. Tell the police right away. Don't wait a decade. Don't journal about it. Don't turn it into a one-woman show. And most importantly, don't keep fucking him.
Okay, Bill, fuck you. Fuck you. I don't want to hear your contemporaneous accounts. We're all seeing play out in real time. Witnesses taking the stand, grown men who are twice the size of Sean Combs, say that they were terrified of him, that they knew he could have them killed, that he would threaten to have family members killed. So maybe there's a reason people didn't come forward right away. Maybe there's a reason when you've got women on the witness stand in downtown New York City saying they thought that Sean Combs had far too many fucking ties to the police in New York or LA or Miami, that there was no way they would even bother reporting it. We're talking about a systemic, institutionalized, fucked up system that has always been against women as far as this shit goes. So you can go fuck off with your edicts that you don't want to hear about contemporaneous reports from 10 fucking years ago. Fuck you. Now, here is Bill on why he's not victim shaming with this little piece here.
It's not victim shaming to expect women to have the agency to leave toxic relationships. Quite the contrary. To not expect that is infantilizing them. If Diddy walks free, it will be because his lawyers can point to an endless stream of texts from Cassie expressing what's often called enthusiastic consent to their sex life. If you're Me Tooing someone, it doesn't help your case if you texted him, "Me too. I just want it to be uncontrollable." If you want us to think you weren't always ready to freak off, don't write, "I'm always ready to freak off." Or,
Okay, he knew. He looked at that audience member and was sort of like, I don't know that that's appropriate. And throughout the whole bit, the audience was largely silent. Like they were like, I think that they were like, are we hearing what we think we're hearing? Are we hearing? So, again, as discussed, displayed, and understood by a jury in New York City that was composed of more men than women, a jury that convicted Harvey of this stuff, they heard very complicated, nuanced testimony. In the beginning of the relationship, maybe Cassie was into it. Okay, fine. Who cares? That doesn't apply to the entirety of the relationship where she's got images. There's video, of her being beaten. There are reports, there are witnesses, there are grown men who said, I had to stand there and watch this guy beat the shit out of her because he had people in that room who were threatening to kill me if I didn't just stand there and watch it. So it's not like a blanket, that is the equivalent of saying, if a woman sleeps with a guy once, let's say someone has slept with Bill Maher once, and they go out on another date with him and they're like, you know what? I don't want to fuck you again. That doesn't give you the right, Bill Maher, to have sex with her again because she did it once. I mean, is this the kind of binary thinking, the kind of low-level intellectual energy you are bringing to one of the most fraught subjects that women are still fucking dealing with? Are you fucking kidding me? Next up, we're going to hear how the music industry is so highly sexualized that, of course, what was Sean Diddy Combs to do but abuse allegedly multiple women and men low these many years? Let's have Bill educate us.
and music is, to begin with, highly sexualized. Magic doesn't strike at the office. It strikes in the studio at 3 a.m. when you're high as a kite and horny as a youth minister and everyone is sexy as shit and you're working on a song called Slut Up My Goo Machine. Of course a freak-off breaks out.
Slut Up My Goo Machine. Bill, if I may, you need younger writers and you need more females in your writer's room. I don't know if there are the women who do work on his show can speak freely to Bill, but you need some women who can speak freely to you, Bill, because there is a difference. And, we all get it. Rock and roll, Hollywood, we all get it. These are industries that are pushing the norms and, they're sort of things go on among consenting adults that are whatever. Fine. We all get it. There's a difference between that and what Cassie endured, the beatings she endured. I will never forget in her legal complaint, I think that was the civil suit she brought against him, and it's coming up again in this criminal case against Diddy. He stomped her face in the back of an SUV. He stomped her face with his feet. She was beaten so severely, she threw up. He made her get breast implants and within 24 hours had her back in a plastic surgeon's office demanding that plastic surgeon remove them because he didn't like the way they fucking looked and put new ones in. And the surgeon said, I'm sure, Mr. Combs, sir, I can't do that. She needs to heal first. We cannot open this woman back up. And whatever Sean Combs said in that office scared that doctor enough to do it. Okay? So we're not dealing with a guy who likes to throw some sex parties now and then, okay? Now, let's have Bill explain to us why we women should have been getting this memo all along, because we've got people in the culture to teach us and tell us what's what. Let's look at this.
But if we're going to have an honest conversation about abuse, we also have to have an honest conversation about what people are willing to do for stardom. If you want a #1 record on the chart so bad you'll take a #1 in the face, some of that is on you. And if you're doing it for love, well, come on. Oprah and Dr. Phil and every podcaster in the world have done 1 million shows by now about how abuse is not love and abusers don't change. If it happened once, there will be more of it.
So Oprah, we're going to get to Oprah on this very, very topic. We should know because Oprah told us. Oprah, who blamed us all for making her feel bad about being fat and having to lie about going on Ozempic. I'm not hearing any of that shit, okay? This is an extremely complicated issue that more than one extremely powerful, successful, famous woman of great means and resources has found herself in. The next example Bill gives us is that of the British singer FKA Twigs, who had dated the actor Shia LaBeouf and has filed suit against him for abuse in their relationship. And everybody knows in Hollywood, Shia LaBeouf, allegedly, he's a handful. I believe he was arrested for assault in, I think, Sundance one year. I'd have to look that up. But anyway, listen to Bill on why FKA Twigs should, I guess in his estimation, take her fucking lumps, pun intended.
But by her own account, she said, the whole time I was with him, I could have bought myself a business flight plane ticket back to my 4-story townhouse in Hackney, London. Really? Then why am I reading about this? Then do that. Buy that plane ticket, even if you have to go coach. If you're literally being held captive, that's one thing. But if you're putting up with whatever for love or for your career, then you need to have a little more honesty and accountability about that. Ike Turner was a psycho, just like Diddy. But in an era where there was no movement to help her, Tina Turner somehow got away. And she did it with 36 cents in her pocket and a mobile card.
Okay. To FKA Twigs, Bill, the reason she's saying that she still, with all of her money and her resources, didn't book that plane ticket is the very point. He had infected her mind. He had fucked her up psychologically. Women don't stay because they enjoy being treated like punching bags by men, okay? Excuses for men, I should say. They stay because their minds have been so fucked with and they can't believe this is happening to them. That is the exact fucking point. And you are just way too smart to not understand this, to be so willfully ignorant.